really want to know my thoughts because it's literally the exact same, pretty much. It's not a terrible patch. It's just the variables are wrong. Alright. Anyways, let's watch the video. I think my headset's turned up. Alright, so I'll be pausing in between, by the way. Hold on, guys. What's the quality? What do you mean that bad? Alright. I can't read chat, by the way. Oof.
Guys.
Okay, it's really delayed.
Guys, I don't know about you, but this whole dead hard nerf thing that Behavior are doing, I'm like...
So, to give context, Dowsey believes that dead hard nerf is actually a buff. And I'll be giving my own thoughts, etc, etc. I'll be going over it, analysing it, etc, etc.
Somewhat...
Fuck.
I'm convinced it might actually be a buff for dead hard, right? Let's just like go over what the dead hard change is. We can put it up on screen for those who, you know, have been living under a rock, I suppose, as well. But essentially, the dead hard change is all about adjusting it, the perk, so that it no longer gives distance.
Okay.
It's just a method of avoiding a hit. So, basically now, when you activate Dead Hard, instead of you lunging forward for distance, you gain...
So, in a nutshell, with the new Dead Hard, instead of lunging forward, as it says, to like a pallet or a window, where the killer can't really do shit. And they have to rely on survivors fucking up, of course. A good survivor using Dead Hard now is pretty much what I'm talking about. So, the new Dead Hard, it gives you borrowed time for 1 second, that's endurance, right? So you could use Dead Hard, technically, closer to a window and still get the fast bolt, so you force the killer to hit, or force the killer to wait, but either way, you can get distance, or you can stay at the tower, so you have two options, so, yeah.
The endurance effect for 1 second, right? And so if you time it right, and the killer slaps you during the endurance effect, then you will not go down, you will be able to run away. So you'll get the on-hit movement speed, and that now lasts for 1.8 seconds, and it's like 150% movement speed. However, if you don't get hit, the killer waits it out, then it was wasted. So the whole concept of...
With the new Dead Hard also, it's better for survivors who are out positioned rather than survivors who are positioned. And it's just like, it's harder to use, but it doesn't take more skill to use. It's just easy for the killer now. But if a survivor's closer to a window or pallet, it still can be really viable. So, using it's going to be a lot rarer, but it's more viable using it than it used to be. If that makes any sense. Because think of it, right? If you're closer to a pallet or a window now, the killer can hit you, you get distance, or they don't hit you, and you can still get distance because they're waiting. And they have to rely on perks to counter Dead Hard, like a bamboozle to fall a window quicker, or brutal strength to break a pallet quicker. Or just in general break the pallet. So, you guys can kind of see my point, and even if they hit you through the pallet when using Dead Hard, you still have borrowed time if they have bad internet. So it's still win-win. It's just rarer to use, but it doesn't take as much skill to use. You just have to rely on the killer not catching up to you. So it's easier for killer to this. As I said, this is not like a disagreement to Dowsey. This is a reaction. This is me giving my thoughts and opinions. I actually will probably be agreeing with him the most. And I did watch this, by the way, before going over it, because it makes the most sense to me. So I'm going over it. I've already watched it, now I'm going over it again. But this time I'm analysing it. So yeah.
Of this, like, nerf, this change to Dead Hard, is to essentially remove the Dead Harding for distance. So all those times when a survivor Dead Hards to reach a pallet, Dead Hards to reach a window to extend the chase.
Yeah.
But does it really stop any of that? Right? Like, let's think about this for a second. We can even pull out the big paint to figure some of these things out, right? Like, a Dead by Daylight jungle gym looks a little bit like this. You've got, what? A little wall that comes out like this. You got a little wall that...
He draws a jungle gym, but there's two variations of this one jungle gym he's drawing. You can either have the window, where my mouse is right here, or you can have the window right there. I'll show you guys in a second.
Comes out like this. Then you have a wall over here. And then on this side here is like a window.
A window,
and
right. But a window can also spawn there. The window there is less viable, so I guess he's kind of talking about the most viable window. But there's two, just saying.
On this side over here is like a pallet,
a pallet,
right?
or a pallet can be here.
Let's say Jimmy is
a pallet can be here when the window's there.
Looping around this, and previously what they would have done is they would have used Dead Hard on this blue line.
Good survivor running around here, or just any survivor running around here, for example, let's say if the killer's here, right? They're running around, they're following them, and then boom, they're dead hard. The dead hard gets them, so they're dead hard here, right? They can dead hard here, and they probably make it to the window. They're dead hard a bit thingy.
Line here so that they could make it to the window, and you wouldn't be able to hit them because they dead harded for distance. That's quite annoying, right? It feels like you caught them eventually.
Also, if anyone's in chat right now, I do apologize. I cannot read it. I can't look at OBS at the same time, and I don't have my phone like next to me right now to look at chat as well, which kind of sucks. So I'll have to reply to everything straight after I analyze this.
And then they dead hard to rectify their mistake, right? But what's stopping Jimmy, right, as they round this quarter, from activating dead hard right here,
Yeah, right
just
there.
before they get hit, vaulting the window, and if you hit them, Jimmy's off! Jimmy's running all the way off into the blue! He's gone! Because
Yes, that's very true. If they time it perfectly, and if they have vaults, you build resilience. You don't really need spine chill, because spine chill's getting nerfed anyway. So, if they have resil, that will even help them even more to get the fast vault quicker. So they can either do it to a window or pallet that is here or there or here. I mean, sorry, yeah. So they can either do it to a pallet, which in my opinion is way stronger because a pallet's stronger than a window, especially in the jungle gym.
he has a 1.8 movement speed for 150%. Not to mention, your derpy ass on the other side of the window is sitting there wiping your blade because you hit a survivor. Isn't that a buff to dead hard? I mean, yes, it's technically more skillful.
No, it's not more skillful. It's rarer. It's harder to use, but you don't need skill to use it. You have to rely on the killer being further away. So it's not really more skill, is it?
Because a 1 second window is actually a lot like harder to time, but a good survivor knows how long it takes for them to reach a pallet. They know how long it takes for them to reach a window. And actually behavior have confirmed that there will be a animation tied to dead hard so that killers will know when a survivor has activated that 1 second window of endurance. But if you do it to force a window vault, or do it to force a pallet drop, a pallet vault, whatever it might be, then the killer is left still having to like play a mind game. And I'm not entirely sure if this dead hard nerf removes the distance aspect that behavior are trying to adjust. This
It's shitter. That's the point. It doesn't take more skill to use, does it? Like, it's just rarer to use. So a good survivor will catch them quickly. Have to use a new DS. So let's say, for example, right? Let's go back
will
to this jungle
remove
gym quickly. I'm not gonna draw one. I'm not talking about. So let's say, right? Let's not. Let's go back to where this is more thing. Okay, let's say, right? A good survivor would purposely play safer now. They would play safer because yes, dead hard shitter, so it's hard to loop, right? But like, you can still play safer survivor and pre-drop pallet, so it doesn't matter about dead hard anymore because a good survivor just pre-drop. So you don't need dead hard to loop. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need dead hard to loop. You know? Does that make any sense? Like, you don't. You just can play safer now because dead hard is shitter. Like, so they nerf dead hard, yes, to make it harder for survivors to extend the loop, but aren't they technically extending the loop if they play safe anyway? So it doesn't matter how much they extend the loop because a survivor pre-dropping every pallet, even safe pallets like jungle gym pallets, and without dead hard is still fucking viable. So this is the thing about the dead hard nerf. Yes, it's shitter to use, but good survivors will just now pre-drop even more than they were before. So they haven't really fixed the foundation of pre-dropping pallets. Like, I mean, no, sorry, or fixing good pallets. Sorry. So yeah, if they actually fix the foundation first of well pallets, then yes, dead hard would matter to use. And yeah, survivor just has to rely on the killer not being close to them. So it's easier for killer now against a lot of survivors, but at the same time, if survivors pre-drop, then the nerf doesn't really mean shit. And it can definitely still use the nerf. You can definitely still use dead hard to probably take hits every now and then.
Right, it feels like you caught dead harding for distance, and it will make it solely used to dodge hits, which killers can anticipate and even bait accordingly. I don't know about that behavior. I mean, we haven't tested it yet, right? It comes out to all servers around July 19th, and next week we'll be able to test on the public test build whether my theory is correct. But
It is correct.
and
It is correct, 100% correct. But it doesn't matter. That's my point. It does not matter because this is just me giving advice, or just like kind of like genuine knowledge. Survivors can pre-drop. Like if you face good teams, let's say comp teams for example, right? I know comp teams ain't public teams, but you can still easily use what comp teams do, and survivors do that in public games. So survivors just pre-drop pallets anyway, when they know they don't have dead hard, or they know when they might as well save dead hard for another tile. So you can like kind of still mess around with dead hard a bit. Like, yeah, it's nerfed, but it doesn't matter if it's a bit better than before, because it's not better. It's just harder to use, and not harder in terms of you need more skill, because you're still pressing one button. It's rarer to use. That's my point. So you have to be closer to a pallet, and you have to rely on the killer not being near you. So yeah.
And in most cases, let's be real, in most cases, dead hard will be a weaker perk for the majority
Yes,
of the player base.
1000%
It now requires a lot more skill and anticipation, and for most killers, they will actually be able to deal with dead hard a little bit more effectively now. But for the top percentile, the high MMR, and it's not really even like the top 1%, let's say the top 10%, maybe even the top 20% of players who have just a little bit of looping skill under their belt, I think that you can use dead hard way more effectively now. And a mistake around dead hard is going to net the survivor potentially even more pressure than it did previously. And I'm not necessarily against this. Just to be clear, I'm just confused that this nerf to dead hard actually in theory can make it stronger due to the fact that you could be on the other side of a pallet wiping your blade, on the other side of a window wiping your blade, and the survivor's long gone.
This is
Okay, so to kind of I'll go back to the chat as well, for you guys. Okay, what do I go on? Browsing. Okay. All right. Okay. Say hello to me from Leo, which comes in stream. We're gonna go now. Goodbye. All right, no worries. I will, bro. Have a good night, man. All right, so to conclude what I was talking about, yes, I don't have a problem with that either. I do not have a problem with dead hard anymore, because like, if they nerfed god pallets, then dead hard will be less of a problem, technically, because they can still endurance to a god pallet, or they can still pre-drop. So let's say if they got rid of abusing god pallets by pre-dropping them, or just a lot of pallets in general, not just god ones. Like there's some really good pallets you can just pre-drop and they're fucking viable to shit. If they somehow change that, which they easily could, just change the foundation, then dead hard will be less of a bullshit perk to go against when survivors do make it work. So he is 100% right when he says you don't need to be that good to have it, and it's not a problem. I don't mind, because the only problem is god pallets, not really dead hard, because dead hard is weak now. It's way weaker. You're most probably gonna get survivor down when you're close to them, which is good. So they can't really just, you can't really outplay, like, let's say if you outplay the survivor with your red glow, you're technically getting rewarded for that now. So you're not getting punished anymore, which is good. And there's an animation as well, so but some good survivors can, fuck around with good killers' heads. They could do something that a good killer wouldn't expect. But either way, it's way weaker than before, which is why I 100% agree. So yeah, there you go. That's my conclusion. And yeah, dead hard is weaker. Yeah, that's it. Dead hard is weaker, but it doesn't require any more skill than it did before. It's just still same skill level. Anyways, that's it.